successful online auction platform, Bidu.com, which is still live with more than 6 million users and $20 million in yearly revenues. He exited the startup in 2019 and joined Bain & Co. in their Milan office. Throughout his career, and sorry guys, I'm just gonna, okay, this is a little tricky. Yeah. Throughout his career and MBA, Paulo has developed a strong passion for mentoring young professionals or colleagues, helping consulting, recruiting. 90% of professionals that he helped landed a job in MBB. That's your dream, guys. I know that. And MBA applications, 94.4% landed an admission in M7 MBA. So over to you guys. Paulo, maybe you can take over from here. Welcome to MBA and Beyond and Coffee with us. And thanks for joining us tonight. I'm going to start recording the session. I'm sorry, my bad. I didn't start recording it earlier because it has to go to a couple of people. So I'm just going to do it right now. But yeah, over to you, Paulo.
Recording in progress.
So, but just give me a moment, Paulo. We are living in a world where, very soon the humans are going to go to Mars, but there are a few technical glitches. Guys, just a moment.
Yeah, sure.
So I guess what I can do is, am I audible now? Is it better?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Perfect. So, guys, meanwhile Paulo is joining, I'll take this up. So the first point in the agenda is GMAT and GRE, right? And it's kind of very, very important, I would say, a factor. One of the factors, but it's actually very important. And reason being that it really explains your current academic potential, along with your undergrad score, right? So, I mean, like I said earlier, GMAT is just one data point, and there are other data points as well, like your GPA, right? Your professional qualifications, your other test scores, the competitions that you have cracked, etc. There are a few other courses if you would like to take, in order to really make sure that you do justice with the GMAT score. Is you can take up a few courses like math courses available at MIT. Forgot the name, like I guess it's Corex. A few business foundation courses that you can take to cope up if you have low GMAT GRE, right? When you are thinking about GMAT and GRE, just always keep in mind the average score of the school, right? If you are from an underrepresented country, the average score can go down. For instance, we had a successful candidate, I think at 650 or 660. She was from Hong Kong. She actually got through top European business schools, right? But if you are from an overrepresented, right, country, then 650, 660, where the average GMAT score is, let's say 700, is not going to work, right? I would say rather add 20, 30 points there, that's when you would be successful. Let's say if you're from India, right? If you're Indian or if you're Chinese, let's say an average GMAT score, let's say you're targeting TAL, right? Average GMAT score is 710, 720. Simply add 20, 30 points, guys. If you don't have a 740, 750, then we'll really need to cover that up, And I get this question asked a lot in general. So I am, doing my mocks. Do you have any recommendation? How should I up my score? One thing which really helped me when I was prepping for GMAT was to analyze mocks and try to see that the questions which you did wrong, right? Try to see why were those questions wrong. Was it because of the concept that you did not know? Or is it because of time pressure? Because when we do mocks, I mean, generally what happens is that now you only have 5 minutes and you've got 6 questions left, right? So, yeah, obviously you'll do wrong. Okay, if you have a low GMAT GRE, we would really recommend to write an optional essay. A sample of optional essay is, I mean, it actually could be, for instance, let's say you actually have been a pretty high achiever, right, all throughout, but you did not score as much, and you feel GMAT or GRE score is not the correct representation of who you are, right? So the way we started is that, for example, one of the applicants, so she said that when I was in my school in 8th class, I was the topper of the district. During my 12th, during my boards, I was, topper of the state, right? And then when I gave the exams for engineering, right, my percentile was 99.7, right? And even in undergrad, I scored this much there, that much there, right? So I feel that I can actually handle the academic rigor of the school, for which I feel that my GMAT and GRE is not the correct representation of my score, right? Having said that, guys, I would say strike a balance between the amount of effort, in retaking multiple times versus focusing on the remaining application part, right? Because essays, your interviews, your LORs, your resume, right? That entire application process also weighs a lot. I would say more than GMAT, because GMAT or GRE is just one factor. Just to end this, slide over here, I personally feel that GMAT GRE is more of an elimination criteria than a selection criteria. 780 is not gonna get you through, for sure, But if you have, like, let's say average GMAT score is 700, if you have a 620, 630, 640, or even 660, yeah, the chances are not strong. I mean, you might just be dropped. Okay, right.
Shantanu, we have welcome Paolo, and
Wonderful.
Apologies, guys. And I hope like the technical glitch was resolved. So we did a little introduction for you, but yes, you're very welcome and happy to hand it over to you. Yeah.
Yes. Sorry. First of all, it looks like my building is falling down. There is no hot water today. There is no internet. Fortunately, I have the hotspot from the company. By the way, thank you very much also for taking the first part. Very nice to meet you, everyone. Also, I would like to jump into the presentation. I also would like to add something else regarding the GMAT and the GRE. So also regarding my experience, because I'm a disaster with this type of test, and it was really, really painful for me. There is a little secret now for a school like Columbia, like TAC, probably also Kellogg, which is the executive assessment, which is the shorter version of GMAT, and they started to accept it also for full-time MBA. So the executive assessment, the beauty of it is that it's shorter, it's easier, and the result does not impact the ranking, exactly like GRE. So mostly for overrepresented countries, even at Columbia, I noticed that a lot of students took the executive assessment rather than the GMAT, and it facilitated a lot their admission. Also because they had more time, like we were saying before, to focus on the application, the rest of the application, which is very, very important. So keep in mind that there is this little, let's say, bonus for certain school. Yeah.
Perfect. So, Pradeep, let's go. Yeah.
Just regarding, I just saw a question before. Someone asked if Indonesia is underrepresented country. I'll say yes. Like Columbia, MIT, we had NYU. We did a lot of networking events together. We were like pretty close as a community. We did also a lot of trips together. And definitely Indonesia is an underrepresented community. So you don't require a huge GMAT score like for other countries like India, for example. So yes, just to answer that question. So regarding academic record, so the truth is, mostly if you're applying, because it's different to apply to European or American MBAs, right? It's a different logic. They are looking for different things. But the core is what we also reported here in this presentation. Like they are looking for people that are going to be manager in the future. So they're going to analyze data. They're going to make data-driven decisions. So they are not gamblers. and they are not visionary. They are they base everything on their intuition. So your academic record should reflect these skills and this attitude, so that they can trust that you can be a good manager, you can be a good student, and you're going to increase their statistics, because basically that's what they care about, right? Having said that, mostly for American universities, they're not just looking for academic records in terms of numbers. They are looking also for like passion, like people that show energy, enthusiasm, and even when they, in their essays, you're not going to talk a lot about your academic record, but when you do, definitely you need to show that you were like in some angle, in some like area, you were stellar. And potentially these areas that they really like are like taking part of the community, helping others, supporting students that have difficulties to like learn. Those are the things that they really, really, really love. Like they want to understand, and they want to understand if you join this MBA, this college, if you can bring something to the table. They're not looking just for students. And plus, they're looking for people that have this attitude that in the future will pay very, very, very well, because in the job market, this type of attitude, like being a team player, helping others, having passions, being very, very strong on certain like axes, are key ingredients for success. Obviously, as we mentioned here, the higher your GPA, the higher is your chance for scholarship. Similar also for the GMAT scores. But it's very true that if you don't have a high GMAT, or if you don't have a very high average GPA, the optional essay is very, very, very important. Having said that, writing an optional essay just for the sake of it doesn't help. Like when you write the optional essay, you need to sell the fact that your average GPA or your GMAT wasn't that stellar, not because you had problems or stuff like that, the classic excuses. No, because maybe you were focused on something else. Could have been, maybe you have a family business and you were helping your father or your mother to grow a business, or you were like super active in external activities, whatever it could be, sport, it could be, you know, no profit, whatever. So I'm not a big fan of lying, but I'm a big fan of making the story more colorful than what it was in the reality. Also because, let's be honest, let's play their game. Like they're looking to put a check in a checkbox. Let's give them the checkbox, you know? So when we write the optional essay, let's try to like show that the reason why we didn't have a stellar GPA or a stellar GMAT is related to something else that makes us stellar on another axis, you know? Yes, thank you. Slide 8.
Yeah, like you said, there's a technical glitch, even the slides. Yeah,
Yeah.
Trying to do that. Give me a second. I've clicked it like 3 times. I'm sorry, guys. It's gonna take, yeah, it's almost there. I knew this is what's gonna happen. I clicked it 3 times. I'm gonna go back to slide 8. 2 more clicks. So let's hang in there.
Yeah.
Good to see we've got people. Yes, all right. We're there. Are we there? Yes, we're there. Back to you, Paolo.
Perfect. So as we were already mentioning, because it's like, it's a flow, right? It's not just answering questions when we write the essays, when we have the recommendation letters, when we have the endorsement letter from our friends. Everything needs to follow a story, and all the stories, the recommendation letter, our essay, everything needs to like follow a logic, and they have to be coherent, right? So obviously showing that we have we are active also outside of the professional and academic world is a super plus. But it's not enough mentioning just for the sake of it. Like in this case, the checkbox is not only did this person do an activity outside of school or outside of work. No, here they're looking for something else. They are looking, is this person entrepreneurial? Is this person passionate? Is this person like motivated, ambitious? Is this person able to like pull up a team, manage the team, whatever activities it could be? It can be founding a tennis school, it can be being a golf teacher, it can be helping do charity or going in some third world countries and support the country in whatever activities. Here they're looking to your abilities to perform, to execute, to organize, to manage. They are not looking just a checkbox like this person did an external activities, because everyone can write that. So even this part is really a chance for you to shine, to show that you have a vision, to show that you have commitment for something, you believe in something, and probably, and this is like just my personal suggestion because that's what I did, this part, meaning external activities, became in my essays my future goal. Like all the experience that I wrote, that I did, and that I want to do, I said that there are compulsory for me to become professional enough then to activate and launch an activity that I've been doing on the side for a couple of years. In my case, was launching a school in Sardinia, the island where I'm from in Italy. And so I think, I'm not saying that everyone has to do that, but I saw so many applicants just writing, yeah, I did charity. Okay, this is not enough. Like you need to show that you do something because you believe in, you want to continue, and doing this activity, you show management skills, community skills, all the stuff that they are looking for an applicant and for future managers that they know they're going to perform well in the job market. So, yeah, we covered a little bit already some of these topics. And I want to say the essay is really, really the most important stuff, probably, on my opinion. And I have an example. Like, I came here in New York with one of my best friends. And his profile was stellar. Like, he did the bachelor at Oxford. He worked in a private equity fund in Bain. He did tons of external activities. He had a stellar GMAT. And in 2016, he applied to Columbia, MIT, Harvard, Stanford, Kellogg's, to tons of university. He didn't pass even one. And you might say, a guy with a bachelor at Oxford, sponsored by Bain, with already internship in private equity. I think he had 750 in the GMAT, something like that. He didn't even pass to the interview round. Like, this is insane, right? And then we applied again together. We applied only to Columbia, Stanford, and NYU, also in SEAD. And it was called by everyone for the interview. And the reason, like, just looking at the differences between the various applications was only the essay. Like, in the previous essay, he was so arrogant that it was taken for granted that his profile was so cool that everyone would have called him. The truth is, there are so many people with very cool profiles. There are so many people that have done huge universities in bachelor, that have done nice internship, and they've been working for nice companies or famous companies, whatever you want to call them. So this is really, I think, the most important part, because here you're selling your skills, you're selling your person, you're selling your vision, you're selling your ambitions, and you're selling the reason why you want to join the university, the particular university, which doesn't have to be like insane. Like, it doesn't have to be, I was dreaming to join this university since I was 2 years old. Like, they don't expect that. But they want to see that at least you enjoy you engage the community, you know what type of people they have, you already spoke with them, maybe you did a couple of calls with the professors, you did a couple of calls with students, you went to visit the campus, you kind of know what you're getting into, and you think that you're a perfect fit from a cultural perspective and also from an ambition perspective, from a career standpoint, with that type of university. So having said that, it's super important that you take time, and this is very important, and this is what I also love about the MBA and beyond process, the data gathering phase. You take time to like write bullets and brainstorm about your qualities, have a logical storyline, and somehow your skills, your qualities that you outline are related to your future goals and your future vision. Because if your story makes sense, he has a nice flow and is convincing, I think 70% of the job is done.
Totally agree with you, Paolo. I think generally what happens is that generally like people just straight away jump to the essays, right? I think if we just take a step back, if we just think about a narrative, right, that's actually going to help a lot. Cool, perfect. Thanks, Paolo, for those insights. Right, guys. Next topic: post-MBA goals, which I know it's pretty daunting. Like generally whenever I ask people, or whenever people start working with us, I think the problem where they struggle the most is post-MBA goals, and one thing which is kind of imperative you need to have is the collinearity between your short-term, long-term, and your current work experience. So what I really mean by collinearity is, I mean, you guys would know in quant, if 3 points are collinear, it means it lies on the same straight line, right? So if your story is not as smooth, like falling on the same straight line, providing a direction, then it's going to be difficult for the other person to even understand what you're trying to say, right? And collinearity also means, let's say if you are selling oranges right now, and then you want to sell apples right later, so obviously this is not kind of matching, right? I totally agree that a lot of people change their trade, right, which we are going to pick up later, but for now, think about collinearity, right? Second point is we highly recommend that in your domain industry, your function and your location, just don't change all three of them. So like try to map it with your current domain industry, your current function, your current location, right? And then map it in the short-term goal. What am I pitching, right? If you're changing all three of them, your plan looks a little, practicality kind of goes away. And again, guys, I'm not denying the fact that there aren't people who haven't changed all these three things. There are, but just to make your plan, look a little more feasible, plausible, right? We recommend change 2 out of these 3. Now, the third point over here, transferable skills. When I was talking about apples and oranges, right? So yeah, I mean, I think 1/3 of the batch, they kind of change their traits, right? Now, how do you defend that? The way you defend that is by showcasing that you have transferable skills. For instance, let's say right now, I'm in a business where I make banana breads, I bake cakes, let's say, and then in my short-term goal, let's say I want to, get into a company which bakes pizza, right? So the transferable skill over here is that though I understand that cakes and pizza are 2 different things, but still both the things needs baking, right? I understand how to operate oven. I understand, the kind of quantity you need for baking soda or baking powder. So these this is nothing but a transferable skill that you bring in, right? Now, just to help you understand more in the professional context, for example, stakeholder management, right? That is something which you can actually showcase that whatever job you're doing at the moment, I mean, you can really feel that there are stakeholders, right? And you actually got to manage them. And even in your short-term goal, whatever thing you're actually going to do, being a leader, you got to do stakeholder management, right? So, but guys, stakeholder management is the most common thing, right? So don't just straight away write it up. But it's I think, it's actually an example which helps people understand better. Okay, now the tips over here. Almost everyone who comes says, I want to be a management consultant, right? Guys, not all of you can become management consultant, right? Like, come on, really, entire batch? Do you think business school is going to entertain the entire batch where everyone wants to be management consultant? No, I mean, business school is a marketplace of profiles, guys, right? Where companies are coming and picking the apples and oranges, right? So they can't really make all of you management consultants. So you really got to think, right? That should I really go in this direction or not? And the last thing over here, pick feasibility of plan over how shiny the idea is. By idea, I mean your plan. By plan, I mean your goals, right? Generally, what people focus on is my short-term goal is I'm going to take people to Mars. Yeah, it's extremely shiny, wonderful, right? But the deal is, do you have something to back it up, right? Or the questions, are you Elon Musk? But anyways, so what I'm trying to say over here is that more than how shiny the idea you are pitching, if you could instill confidence in the eyes of the adcoms that whatever you are saying is achievable and you can do it, right? That matters more.
Yeah, there is a question, and I think Paolo also wants to jump in. Just a second. Vidhi is asking, what if you do plan to change all three? Is that something you should avoid talking about? And that's a very valid question. I get asked that multiple times. So Shantanu, Paolo, please help her address this.
Sure. I mean, see, first of all, you cannot change all these three until you get an admit, right? So the way I see it is get an admit, right? And do whatever you want to do. No one is going to take a look into your application and say that you wrote this. What are you doing now? So I hope I kind of answer the question. Paolo, over to you.
Yeah, I know you're going to kill me after what I say, but I'm Italian, so we love to break the rules a little bit sometimes. So I love to think about this, guys. Even if you want to do management consulting, even if you want to do private equity, even if you want to do investment banking, I totally agree, Shantanu. Let's think smart. Let's know, we know who is our audience and we know what they are looking for. These guys are looking for two things. One, statistics. They don't care what you're going to do after. They care that your salary is going to increase. They care that you're going to have a job in a specific location with a nice title, potentially also with a nice brand after, right? So sometimes we can also play it smart. Like if you're going to university, if you're applying for a university that is specialized on a specific context, for example, tech, or maybe, I don't know, in Rotterdam, they're super strong in maritime, shipping, and stuff like that. You can play also a little bit smart and saying that your short-term goal or long-term goal are super related with something that is aligned with what they do. And you should also somehow sell the fact that you kind of already have that job lined up and you only need the MBA because they ask you to. I know it's a little bit of a lie, but it's not a full lie. It's just, as we said before, making the story more colorful. I mean, that's what I did for the MBA. I didn't say, and I was a sponsored student by Bain. I didn't say that I was going back to Bain or stuff like that. I said my father had this business that was growing a lot. And after a couple of years of consulting, we wanted to expand in New York. And so MBA at Columbia would have given me, one, the skills to do that, the network. And somehow I sold the fact that my salary would have been much higher than what Bain was paying me in Milan, at least makes your profile a little bit more special, etc. Once you are in, they don't care. Like, you can apply to all the jobs and hopefully you will get one. But like, your mission now is it's like when you sell a project in consulting, like here you're selling yourself to these guys and you need to give them what they want.
Yep.
So think in this perspective.
Indeed.
And that's a very valuable.
Yeah, that's a very good one.
That's a very valuable one. And also, like, I would re-emphasize on this when we talk about our process also a little bit. There's one story that you as a director are going to direct for yourself that's going to sell on, let's say, Netflix is going to have a massive TRP, and that's what you need to do. And there's one thing that in your heart, you know, you want to do. You may change that a little. I mean, that's the hard fact, guys. You can be honest, of course, for the evidences that you have. But if you really want to be a management consultant and everybody wants to do that, and if you say that, you may not make it through to the best schools. You may not end up going to M7. So if M7 is one route, then you have to figure out your way around to stand out as a differentiating person in the crowd that you're standing with. Or might as well just change the whole goal of becoming a management consultant and do something else altogether. So yeah, back to you guys. I'll just move on to the next slide.
Right. So the next slide is on recommenders, how to choose. And the first point over here, which you see, is narrative, right? And just building upon what we discussed, right? Your narrative, I mean, guys, okay, I'm fine. You want to be a management consultant, right? But break it into steps, right? Admit first, and then, that's going to be the next step, right? And for the admit, you need a strong narrative, right? And that's exactly what also Paulo was talking about, right? It's eventually the narrative, right? Where you're actually going to be collinear. Okay, for recommenders, I would say, again, know your narrative. You need to always remember the anecdotes, and the qualities that you're playing on to know your essays, right? So the only source of information for the school is through your essays and through the application that you're filling in, right? So pick a referee who understands your narrative, a referee who can extend the narrative, right? Now, the version of the narratives should be different, obviously your referee, the way the version of the anecdote, right, would be different than what you have written in the essays or what you have put in the resume. But the thing is, there shouldn't be poles apart, right? It's not like that the strength that you're putting up, your referee is saying that no, that's the weakness, right? So and that's how the cookies generally crumble, right? So you got to take care of that. Second thing is LOR. I think essays, resume, and LOR, should complement one another, right? So LOR should really resonate with the essays and resume, for which what you really need to do is, and we also help you do that, is, providing a package to your referees, right? Your referees do not work with you from the point of view that one day I got to write a reference letter for this guy, right? So it's important to help them out as well. And for which what's important is to do LOR mapping, right? At a very high level, you kind of, describe that how the LOR could further strengthen my essays and my resume, could further strengthen, the qualities that I have put in, right? So, and like, for instance, like, some point, you will not be able to talk about all the points which are sitting in your resume, right? Through your essays, right? That is where I think, those points, those anecdotes can sit in LOR as well, right? But going in the direction of the narrative, that's being hatched. So yeah, the third point over here is generally people talk about, who should be my recommender, right? First of all, the person who knows you the most is your direct supervisor, right? If your supervisor, you got changed, let's say like 3 months ago, 6 months ago, then pick the previous supervisor, right? Have someone who can really talk at length about you, right? The other choices could be your client. I mean, client is a wonderful choice, if you could really convince your clients, right? And I mean, like, LOR from client can actually do wonders, right? Another one, let's say if you are into an entrepreneurial journey, then your co-founder, right? Your previous manager, If you're working where you have suppliers, then suppliers, right? Alum, whom you've worked with, for at least a year. And don't just think about picking up like VPs, the directors, the CEOs. Again, it's shiny, right? But how much does that person know you? That's the thing. What matters the most is how much does that person know you, how much can that person write, and how much can that person really follow the narrative. Cool. Let's move ahead. Guys, I could see that there are a lot of questions popping up. Just give me a moment.
Paolo's taking care of them. Meanwhile, you go. Wonderful. And then of course we'll address the ones that are remaining towards the end.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Right. The last bit today in the agenda is interview and how to ace them. Because I feel at a very high level for interview, you need content to speak about, then your delivery, right? How you're structuring your content, how you're structuring your thoughts, and then eventually the flow, right? We'll come to it one by one. Content is, again, the extension to your theme, the narrative, the anecdotes that you have prepared, right? And the deal over here is under content, guys, just don't keep on repeating what you have put in, I mean, what you put in the essays. And I'll be honest, the interviews of M7, all of them, they are pretty similar. The way the flow goes, it's pretty similar, right? So I think if you're going to prepare content for, let's say, 3 schools, I think you will have enough content for the 7 or 8 schools, right? Now, the delivery, right? Delivery is important because you first of all need to understand what's the type of question. Is it a behavioral question, right? Or is it a non-behavioral question? If it's a behavioral question, right, then I think you should follow a STAR approach. If you're falling short on time, then really don't dive deep into that. This is a situation, this is a task, just give a context, come to actions straight away, right? So, and then throw up the result. Now, this CAR and STAR is nothing but a framework, right? And the framework is different for a different type of question, right? There's another framework which we say is power of 3. For example, why do you like the school, right? Now, instead of scrambling, if you already had 3 points in your head, right? That's the power of 3, right? Shoot them one by one, right? Now, guys, the flow. We all know it's going to start with introduction, right? It's going to start with that single thing. Then they might cross-question you for a couple of things, on what you have said. And then, they actually would want to ask you your goals, why MBA, how can you contribute, your leadership skills, blah, blah, that stuff. But if you already know that, these questions are going to be asked, then why don't we create a flow, right? We create a flow where we talk about introduction. We throw 2-3 bits, in the intro where we just touch upon the points, don't expand upon them, right? Then wait for the person to ask the question, right? And when the question is asked, let's say now following the intro, I would then, the way I'm going to end the answer is, that's what I feel that, it's really going to make me achieve my goals, full stop. What's going to be the next question? What the hell are your goals, right? So that's the flow, right? And the flow is very, very important. So yeah. Now, guys, another thing, pause. Pause is kind of a strategic thing over here, where if someone's going to ask you what's your goal, like, don't take a pause, right? But let's say if you see from the face of the interviewer that, this is the question I got you on, then please take a pause. Please take a pause. Let the interviewer think that, you're actually right now coming up with the answer. Tell them that I need like 20-30 seconds to prepare, right? And then after that, you already have the answer in your head, right? So, and after that, if you're going to speak the answer in the perfect structure, right, and thought through, it's really going to spin the game around, right? Also, pause is kind of important. In general, even you wouldn't hire a person, even you wouldn't get a person who just listens to a question, starts blabbering, right? You would really want someone who's structuring the thoughts before speaking, right? So pause really helps you over there as well. And it's perfectly fine to ask for a pause. It's perfectly fine to say, all right, can you please give me like 15 seconds to structure my thoughts, but not on the question of what's your goal or why MBA, right? I mean, these should be prepared, right? So yeah, that's it.
Thanks a lot, Shantanu. So before we jump onto our process, thanks, Paolo. Maybe you guys can tackle a few questions while I'm talking, and then we can tackle the questions. So just to make most of this time. Just before we jump onto questions or anything, if you guys are looking to work with MBA and beyond, I know some of you have already gotten your profile evaluated, and we already know that how strong you are and what are the potential chances for us to be successful together. But for those who have not and are interested in working and have not been able to book a slot with us, please send us answer to these two questions along with your resume. The first question is, what is your short-term goal? What evidences do you have in your current or past experience to support this goal? So you can go back to the think about the slide and the framework that Shantanu talked about. How should you think about your short-term and long-term goal? And the second one is go back to thinking what Paolo was talking about. How are you different? What's your differentiator? So talk about what do you think is your strongest differentiator and your unique selling point to business schools. You'll be receiving an email from us soon after this session, and you can send us your answers by end of day tomorrow. So we are opening seven slots to onboard people this week, and we are going to select the people who have the strongest answers and we feel has the highest clarity about how should you approach, because round one is just around the corner, and we do need people who have certain amount of clarity of thought to start working with MBA and beyond. We will thoroughly review your answers, and we are going to get back to you by 8th of August EOD, and soon after that we can get started on your applications. Going back to the process, if you want to understand what you're really getting into if you're working with MBA and beyond, I'd like to highlight that Paolo also talked about there is a massive content gathering phase that we put you through. And this is the one that's going to lay a strong foundation of your application. So before you start thinking about, okay, what schools, because you can't apply to all M7 schools, you don't have that kind of time window. You only have 1.5 months. So if you apply to all, you're basically just devoting 5 days per school's application, and that's not feasible for a good application. Also, that's not advisable for some of you who've gotten dinged. You know how bad that is for your application. You really need to introspect and come up with a very strong application that requires a very strong foundation. So for that, we've designed a framework that's called content gathering phase. It has 3 sets. Set 1 revolves around very high level questions around core and fundamentals of any business school, no matter what business school you're applying to. We don't need to know that. You can just get started as a blank person who has no idea which schools you're going to go for. You just need to know your narrative. So we're going to put you through 12 main questions and 40 sub questions. You'll read a lot of sample essays, sample snippets. You'll get an understanding how should you approach these questions. These questions are going to be broadly around how do you position yourself as a global business leader? What kind of real world challenges do you really care about? What are your strengths, weaknesses, achievements, failures? Why do you need an MBA? What short-term goals do make sense to you? You can have a goal A, goal B, goal C, and then you try to connect the dots to see which one is making most sense. So in bullet points, you'll be able to come up with pieces of puzzles that are going to make a big picture for you towards the end when you're putting your application together. But for now, it's more like you brain dumping after you introspect about your journey or your life experiences so far. This is going to be set 1. Now, set 1 is purely from your perspective. It's you brain dumping, thinking one dimensionally about yourself. We move on to set 2. This is a little quirky step. Some people find it intimidating, but it's important we get to know you from a third person perspective if we really have to do justice to your application as your facilitators, as your mentors, and as your consultant. So here what we're going to do is we're going to put you through like a challenge. You have to choose 3 really important people in your life, 1 personal connection, 1 professional connection, and the third one could be either of them. We send them a very candid questionnaire, more like a survey about you as a person from them. You can literally choose anybody. It could be a work buddy, it could be a co-founder, anybody you want to pick. But what we want is understanding you from a third person perspective to get a complete 360-degree understanding of the person that you really are out there in the world. Why is that important? Business schools have a knack of identifying self biases in your application. When I say self biases, they can clearly see either you're trying to undersell yourself or you're trying to oversell yourself. And none of that is going to work in your favor. So you have to make sure that you are neutralizing your application as much as possible, and you're removing as many self biases as possible. That can only come through when you're trying to understand yourself from other people's perspective. Some people are clever enough and they try to already get their recommenders to do this exercise for them. So even if like your recommenders and you have a good relationship with each other, you can already get your recommenders to do this bit for you, and you can somehow already know what they're going to be talking about. So you can already mold your essays and your resume in the direction that's going to be complementary to your recommendation. So it's completely up to you how you want to use it further, but this is purely to remove any self biases in your application. Then we move on to set 3, which is the last set of content gathering phase. And this is, I personally believe magic really happens for people who belong to an overrepresented pool, especially coming from India and China, where like we are so many Indian male engineers, it's hard to stand out. We all want to become management consultants. The only way for us to stand out comes when we try to bring out our personality beyond professional experience. If you're just talking about our professional experience, it's quite possible that, let's say, okay, we've got Jinesh here. He's moved a KPI from point A to point B. Maybe Vishesh has moved it from point A to point C, and Vidhi might have done like wonders from taking it to point Z. How do we stand out if we just talk about only professional journeys? It's important we tie our professional experience into the personality that we are, and it matches the values of different business schools. So here we're going to put you through a personality test, and based on the results of the test, we're going to define the traits that become the backbone of your application, and everything else that you've done in your life is going to hang around it as a supporting piece of evidence, which is of course eventually going to help you relate to the values of business school. That's what business schools really care about, and that's what essays are also revolving around. Once all of this is done, and this is a good process, guys, we don't want you to rush you through this. We want you to take a good amount of time. The more time you spend on this, the more clarity you'll have on what your foundational narrative is going to look like to any business school you're going to apply to. Once all of this is done, your consultant is getting matched to you. Now, let me talk about the pool of consultants that MBA and Beyond brings to table for you. Unlike any other consulting firm out there globally, we work in a very different model. So we believe that you can only be mentored by somebody who has either taken a very similar journey like yourself, or has helped somebody very similar to you, and additionally has a very unique angle to bring to your story. Now, this matching happens based on the fact that we've got a massive pool of applicants who are startup founders in the Silicon Valley, management consultants with McKinsey, Bain, BCG. One of you, you can already see Paolo is there. He's working with Bain. And some of them are working with private equity, VCs. Some of them are education consultants for more than 15 years of experience. But all of them are alums of top business schools. Name any: Columbia, Wharton, INSEAD, LBS. We've got consultants from here. They are into this space purely to give back to the community and add the strategic value you need precisely from somebody who's done an MBA, has been in your shoes, and exactly knows what the business school wants. So once you do the content gathering, the content team, along with Shantanu, is constantly working towards matching you to the right consultant who's going to bring the most unique aspect of your personality to the business schools out there. When the matching happens, your consultant comes on board with you. You have a brainstorming session based on your content gathering, and the consultant defines the branding document for you. This branding document has your high level storyline, your theme, your strategy, and your direction. Now, based on this document, we are going to start working on your essays, your letters of recommendation, your resume, and your interviews. We work with our applicants throughout the year. Like, of course, the fee that you pay to MBA and Beyond remains valid for one full year. So it's completely up to you whether you want to squeeze that into last 1 month and only do 2 applications with us, or you want to work with us throughout the year and apply to 7 to 8 schools and maximize your chances. The number of hours that you get from your consultant is going to be unlimited. We try to advise you to have that person as a mentor as early on as possible, so that like consultant or your mentor can also help you network with the right people whenever, and advise you on who should you reach out to in different schools to understand curriculums, professors, etc. So this is what our process looks like. And of course, we're going to help you end to end from essays, recommendation to final round of interview, and do a lot of mock sessions with you. So again, if you're interested, these 2 questions, you're going to receive an email either from Taru or from Mehek. I'm sure these guys will chase you down if you really want to work with us. And then you can have your answers sent back to us, and then we'll come back to you soon after. All right, time for some questions, some more questions. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Before the question, can I give a general
Sure.
suggestion?
Go for it.
I saw a little bit the question that people are asking, okay? So, for example, someone said that he was working with his brother for a startup, then he got disconnected. Someone else asked, does coming from design background and having entrepreneur experience increase my chance? Okay, let's put it in this way. It's like dating, right? When you try to date a person, you're somehow convincing that person that you're worth of dating, right? And what's the most difficult thing in dating? Besides the fact that some people might not like you aesthetically, and then you're fucked. But let's put that aside for a little bit. It's ambiguity, you know? People are scared of things they cannot understand. The same thing is for people that work in the university, in the recruitment. They are people like us. So it's not that they are like geniuses or they have the magic ball, right? They just want to decrease the risk of hiring people that are going to be unsuccessful. And so they have a set of rules. So I would frame it like this. Since you're going to business school, obviously there are certain jobs that makes you in a better path, like they increase your chances, but not because they are better job. It's not the what, it's the what, it's the how. For example, obviously, if you work at Goldman in M&A, or if you did management consulting before, or if you were in a super leadership program, management leadership program in a tech company, helps you. But because the recruiter, they know already what you were doing, so they don't have to crash their mind understanding what you were doing, and they know what type of jobs usually you're gonna get with this type of profiles, right? Everything that is not Goldman, JP Morgan, MBB, and big tech, there is not one better than the other. It's the story that you tell. You were working in the startup of your brother. Okay, show me what you brought. Like, what are your qualities? What you were doing? Like, why you were special? You were a designer. Imagine dating. Like, not every person can date Goldman Sachs bankers, right? Can date also designers. But like, are you going to be a great designer? Are you going to develop management skills because then you're going to open your own design company and it's going to be super successful? Like, it's not the what, it's the how. Like, it's your plan, it's your vision, you know? So this is the important stuff. If you start like looking at blogs and looking all these like stupid statistics that don't make any sense, you're starting with the wrong foot. Like in the MBA, there are people that were veterans, they were military, they were lawyers, they were like, some of them, they didn't even work before. Like, if your story is compelling and you're convincing, they're going to believe you and they're going to hire you. That's it. Second point is all this stress about timing. Guys, there are people that are 21, there are people that are 28, there are people that are 36. Nobody is like pressuring you to start immediately. And even joining a program like MBA and beyond, they're just teaching you how to use the bicycle, but then you need to cycle, you know? So even if you join the program and you learn the basics and you know how the process works and you brainstorm and you feel that your story is not compelling enough, taking 1 year or even 2 years more to fill up the content, it doesn't hurt. So instead of stressing all these like blog bullshit about timing, about what is better than other, etc. I will focus more on my experience, my result, my achievements, my activities are compelling enough to convince someone to take me in an MBA, or should I do something maybe in the future, in the like next 1-2 years to make my profile better? What I've done so far, is that enough, or I can somehow sell it enough to make them believe that I'm going to be successful? This is what you have to focus on. If you lose time reading blogs and thinking that you're going to have higher chance because you have design instead of architecture in your CV, you're starting with the wrong foot.
All right. Thanks a lot, Paolo. Are there any more questions? We just have 2 more minutes. I think everybody, you guys addressed almost every question. But yeah, if like round 1 and round 2, guys, if you are still thinking about round 1, then you have to be conscious of the dates or the deadlines of the schools that you're targeting. I would highly recommend that you need to start working on your applications now as in like today itself. And you should already be knowing what the essay questions are going to look like and everything. You already need to get going. For round 2, I will again say that I wouldn't say today, but maybe within this week, within this month, please start your applications if you're looking for 3 or more schools for round 2, even if you have not taken your GMAT. If you know you will attempt your GMAT closer to your submission date, you need to start working on your applications right now. What's the biggest difference between M7 and 8 to 15? So Shantanu, Paolo, do you want to take that one up? It's
so it's obviously nothing in terms of curriculum and in terms of what you're going to learn. Like, I guess also if you do an MBA in a school that is ranked even lower than 100, the quality of the teaching is super high anyway. The difference is branding. It's like working for, you say you're a banker and you were working for Goldman Sachs, or you were working at a regional bank, you know? Obviously, like top 20, they are all super nice. The truth is Harvard and Stanford are another league. The rest are like good, but not a huge difference. Also, depending on the country that you want to work for, maybe certain unit, for example, in Italy, Columbia is a huge network because a lot of people went to Columbia. And so probably Columbia might help you more than Wharton because you have more people in Italy that went to Columbia. I don't know anyone in Italy that went to Kellogg, for example. And Kellogg is like a super nice university. So the difference is only the branding, but I wouldn't focus a lot on the ranking. I would focus more on the type of job that you're looking for in a geography and what university has the bigger network and can facilitate you to get to that job or to that goal more easily.
All right, thanks. We've 1 minute overshot our time. Thanks a lot, Paolo and Shantanu, for joining us today. And thanks everyone for joining us. Hope you found this really helpful and insightful. If you guys want to follow us, you can check our LinkedIn or Instagram pages. We're always active there, always posting something. You can schedule a profile evaluation call with us. And if you want to work with us, you know what to do next, like send us answers to these 2 questions after you receive an email. Lovely having all of you here. All the best with this application season. Hope you all make it to M7 this year.
Right. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Great one. Great day ahead.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks, Paolo. Thanks, Paridhi.
Guys.
Hey guys, lovely having you here. Bye-bye.